Magst du mir jetzt nicht so schnell gehen? Entschuldigung. Danke. Dann mache ich mal ein Foto, dann. Okay, super. Dankeschön. Die haben wir einfach auf Seite die Tasche. Ich lag da einfach auf dem Stuhl, wenn wir jetzt keine Ahnung, man wird sich schon melden. Ja. Das ist ja die Handtücher auch liegen.
Na, das werden wir vielleicht in der nächsten halben Stunde oder Stunde hören. Wir haben es mit einem Täter zu tun, der ganz offensichtlich mit voller Absicht in diese Gruppe reingefahren ist. Das besprechen unzählige Indizien, zum Beispiel wie zerstört dieses Auto war, also wenn es wirklich aufs Gas gedrückt hat, nachdem man sich Polizeiautos rumgeschwemmt hat. Das ist kein Zufall. Wir haben aber auch mit einem Täter zu tun, wenn man in seinem privaten Umfeld unterwegs ist. Der erzählen haben Leute da, wo er gewohnt hat oder auch da, wo er trainiert hat. Der Mann war ja Bodybuilder, sogar ziemlich erfolgreich, hat an Meisterschaften teilgenommen, dass das ein netter, eher unpolitischer Mann war, der eben vor allem über Sport geredet habe, aber wenig über Politik, der nicht wirklich den Islamist. Und da kommen wir zu seinen Social Media Postings. Die sind halt dann doch wieder so ein bisschen eine große Frage. Da findet sich nichts, was jetzt islamischer Staat oder super islamischer Extremismus wäre, aber doch zunehmend religiöse Postings, Predigten in Persisch, teilweise in Arabisch, in denen vom Tod gesprochen wird und eben auch Postings, auf denen er unten ganz kurz schreibt, Allah wird uns verzeihen, aber euch nicht, euch kann man sich denken, das ist vermutlich die Menschen in Europa, also da deutet schon darauf hin, dass es eine extremistische Radikalisierung gegeben haben könnte dieses Mannes. Er ist nicht schwer verletzt worden bei der Festnahme, er ist im Krankenhaus. Ich gehe davon aus, dass man mit ihm reden konnte, weiß es aber nicht sicher. Die Wahrscheinlichkeit, dass er islamistische Hintergrund hinterstehen könnte, ist da. Bewiesen ist das auch nicht. All das werden wir jetzt, glaube ich, etwas mehr im Laufe des Tages, weil wir haben auch noch den Ermittlerkette vorgestellt werden. Das Ergebnis dürfte es nicht sein.
Noch werden wir nicht drauf sein, ja? Weil
Ja, machen hier einen Stream für die 24
Also, wie ich fand eigentlich wenig die Politiker, die ich gestern am Tatort erlebt habe, war ja auch Markus Söder da, später kam Nancy Faeser und mehrfach der bayerische Innenminister, die haben eigentlich vor allem betont, es ist ist ein großes Glück, dass bislang noch keiner gestorben ist. Der Oberbürgermeister München hat gesagt, 8 schwer Verletzte. Ein Kind, das vor Ort reanimiert werden muss, also da kann es noch Todesfälle geben. Da steht jetzt drauf, hoffentlich passiert das nicht, hoffentlich kommt man wenigstens in dieser Hinsicht etwas Glimpflicher davon. Aber Markus Söder hat schon auch gesagt, es wird die Überzeugung der Union, das, was passieren muss, bei der Migration nur noch verstärken. Also ich bin mir sehr sicher, dass in den nächsten Tagen bis hin zur Bundestagswahl noch sehr oft zur Sprache kommen wird, was in München passiert ist, was zuvor in Aschaffenburg passiert ist und dass das auch eine Auswirkung auf diese Bundestagswahl haben wird. Die Frage ist nur, welche.
Good morning. My name is Thomas Schelzer. I am the press secretary, and I will be moderating this conference today. First of all, thank you for being here, these members of the media. I'd like to say hello to all of you. And I would also like to greet all of our viewers watching live. I'd like to introduce Ms. Gabriele Tilmann, who is the prosecutor in the Bavarian Central Agency for against extremism and terrorism. I would also like to introduce Mr. The Deputy Chief of Police, Guido, and our Munich Deputy Chief of Police, that is Christian Huber. Today we'll be discussing the reason for this press conference is yesterday's attack in Seidelstraße. And I would like to just tell you how this is going to go today. We will start with a statement from the guests on the podium. Mr. Huber will tell us about what the police have been doing. Mr. Limmer and Ms. Tilmann will tell us about the developments. Then there will be an opportunity for questions for press and social media. And when the Q&A is over, it will be possible to do recordings for television and radio. And then I guess I can hand the floor to Christian Huber, Munich Deputy Chief of Police. Yes, hello also. I'd just like to tell you what we have been doing and just tell you what the current state of affairs is. Yesterday, there was a registered demonstration by Verdi, and this was meant to be a march through Munich. At the time of the attack, the procession was in Seidelstraße, on their way to Königsplatz, where there was supposed to be a gathering. And at this demonstration had nothing to do with the Munich Security Conference, but it was still within the area of deployment for the Munich police around the conference. And now, in the area of Seidelstraße, there was a police car, and there was another car that came closer to the police car and tried to signal to pass, and they were signaled that they need to be driving slowly, and eventually it drove into the crowd. Then police who were accompanying this march used their guns, shot at the car but did not hit anyone. The colleagues who were at the site said that a young man exited the car and was arrested. The suspect himself is a 24-year-old Afghan man, and Mr. Limmer will give more details, and Ms. Tilmann as well. Investigations have been taking place, and they will continue and give us more details. So the fact that there were guns used means that we has to be an investigation on our side as well, and that is ongoing. In order to get the details. Looking at the injured, what I can say right now is that we're talking about 36 injured. That is not an exhaustive number because there might be a few more who turn up. They might end up going to their doctor at home to get looked at, and then they will become registered as an official injured person. But at the moment, that number is at 36. There are 2 most seriously injured. One of them is a child. 8 seriously injured. And the rest have minor injuries. There is a lot of work happening by the police as well as emergency response to deal with this issue. I have lost video, okay. And we also have emergency responders such as ambulance, paramedics, and fire. And they all responded and got to the scene. Now looking at the effects on the Munich Security Conference, the Verdi March had nothing to do with the MSC. But they already talked about this at the press conference for the MSC, but there will be police accompaniment at demonstrations around the MSC. There are 7 demonstrations taking place today, and they will have police accompaniment. And we went to the leaders of those demonstrations, asking them to restrict their demonstrations. And we'll also make sure that these demonstrations are safe. Tomorrow, there will be 21 assemblies with marches and 16 that will be stationary. Of course, we have looked at the security risks for these demonstrations, and we've also been talking to the police in other federal states about this. We are on top of the issue. And so that is all I have to say. I would just like to say thank you to the emergency responders. We think that we did our best work there. We prevented the worst case scenario. And I would like to especially say thank you to the paramedics, because the chain worked very well there. We were able to carry away so many people efficiently. And so the Munich police and the Bavaria police, I'd like to say thank you to all of them. They also did their best to protect people, and I would like to especially say my heart goes out to the victims and those most severely injured. As I said, there are a lot of people who have been very affected by this, so please take advantage of the services that are available to you, intervention services, and there is also services between Munich and Freising that you can use. And please, if you feel the need, please take advantage of the services available for you. That concludes my comments. I'd like to hand over now to my colleagues. Yes, thank you. Throughout the day, we were also brought in to provide support. Can I have an increased volume, please? Because I am having a lot of trouble hearing him. If you could maybe increase my volume. So the special command was deployed to Seidelstraße, and we have around 140 state police working on this issue, providing support. We also have additional support. Can I have more volume, please? And we have the constitutional police. We have the our colleagues will continue to work on this throughout the weekend. What we're trying to do is figure out the environment around the perpetrator. We interviewed him for 2 hours. And we will, of course, have to collect evidence, get videos so far as they are available. And we will also use electronic evidence, looking at his phone. And communication was mostly in Arabic. We were able to figure out a direction that we want to take for this. I can't give you more information about that. It seems that he spoke to other acquaintances about this. I cannot give you anything specific at this time, but we have not found anything giving specifics as to what he was going to do or where or what. We were not able to find anything through searching his apartment, and we were not able to find anything that specifically pointed to preparations for this attack. And we also are interviewing witnesses. We also don't have any specifics at this time on that, though. That brings me to the end of my comments, and I would like to hand over to Ms. Tilmann. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Munich Prosecutor's office started investigations immediately after the attack because there were indications that it might have been an extremist attack. It's about 24 hours after the attack. We can't say anything definitive, and so I ask for your understanding on that. We know a lot about what happened in the attack. There's not a lot that we can really report about the background at this point, though. What I can say, according to what we know at the moment, is who he was, and we can give you a little bit about what his motivation was. So first of all, the perpetrator. He's a 24-year-old Afghan citizen. He arrived as an unaccompanied minor in Germany in 2016. He, at this time, was legally in the country. He was not ordered to leave the country. He lived in a rented flat. He was employed. He worked as a store detective in security. He said that he was a religious person. He prayed and went to the mosque. And perhaps also of importance here is that he had no prior convictions. In Bavaria, there was an issue with unemployment fraud. He had said that he was unemployed and wasn't, but that was very brief. And so this case against him was set aside. So, what was the motivation of the perpetrator? And this is the important question. And to learn more, as my colleague already said, we performed searches. We also are going to evaluate his mobile phone and his social media activity. But that really is something we've only just started. He was active on Instagram. He called himself a bodybuilder and was very active. He posted on a lot of he posted a lot. For example, he had a post something about Allah protect us all. So he was religious and also outwardly so. And then there's Snapchat, where the perpetrator, we were able to find this on, we know that those happened on his phone, but we need more to do more evaluations there. After the attack, the perpetrator said to the police, the perpetrator was apprehended by police, he prayed, and that were indications as to why we should immediately take over this case. There was an interview with him yesterday. He said that he drove into the crowd purposely. And as the reason that he gave could be summarized as of a religious reason. I can't say more about it, but what he said would lead us to conclude that it was a religious motive. So to conclude, we don't want to jump to any conclusions, but I would say that given what has happened, we would assume that this was an Islamic extremist attack. That is the current state of things, and just given what we have seen, what we have read, and what we've heard from the perpetrator. But what is also clear is that we have no reason to believe that the perpetrator was a member of any type of extremist Islamist organization like IS. And so that we're really only getting started with the investigation, and this might all look a little bit different as things go on, but that is the current state of things. The next important question is whether there were any accomplices or anyone who knew about this. Was he part of a network, a real one or a virtual one? What we know is that he acted alone. We don't have any indication that there were any accomplices at the scene. We are looking at his chats, we're looking through his contacts. What we're trying to do is find out whether other people knew about the attack before it happened, or if he was part of a network, which is clear that at this point that he was not. So what has happened in the few hours since the attack? We've had investigations. We're trying to find certain transaction data, telephone numbers, get information on that, find some contacts. So I would like to say thank you for the good cooperation with the Munich police, as well as with the Bavarian police, so that we were able to hit the ground running. And I will also be talking to the federal level prosecutors. They have also been working on this issue. We are in very close communication on all levels. So, what do we do now? We will continue to investigate and figure out the motivation through questioning, looking at, as I said, his social media, looking at his mobile phone, and we will look at the larger background of the attack, the larger reason for the motivation. Why yesterday? Why there? What was his reasoning for doing it then and there? That's something we will also have to clarify. And we have now issued we've issued a request to take him into custody, and that has been carried out. Thank you, Ms. Tilmann. So now we're going to start the Q&A, and we will have to say goodbye to anyone watching via social media, and then we will start the press Q&A. Please tell me the media outlet you represent as well as your name. Yes, I'm from the Spiegel. Ms. Tilmann. You said he was not ordered to leave the country. I'm afraid this is too quiet. I can. I'm afraid I can't say because I don't know all of the details about what the rules are. He was not ordered to leave the country. What his asylum request was rejected, but I can't say any more, I'm afraid. This is a question about demonstrations, about further demonstrations, not knowing about any further dangers. What does that mean for the police? Of course, we will have to have a look and see whether any demonstrations will need police presence. But we don't see any reason to believe that they're in further danger, either from the crowd that's doing the demonstrating or for the crowd. That's for stationary ones. For mobile ones, we will need to block off traffic in a different way. And we actually have more police presence than usual for the Verdi March. Is there any indication of mental health issues for the perpetrator? At the moment, no. But in a case like this, we will get testimony from a medical professional, but the perpetrator today is going into custody, and he's not going to go into a psychological facility. And so there's nothing that we can see at the moment that would have an effect on the attack. It was said in the media yesterday that he was in Germany illegally and had priors for shoplifting and narcotics. That's what we heard from the internal minister of Bavaria, and then there was information that that was actually not the case. Now, that didn't come through until the early evening. How did that happen? Well, He was known to police as a witness for a shoplifting case. And so he was known to the police for that, but not as a perpetrator, because he worked as a store detective. So it was the lines got crossed there. And as far as his status in Germany, he was given a limited leave to remain, but so he does have a right to remain in Germany. The reason for this is that we're getting information from a lot of different sources, and it was difficult to know what the actual current state of things was. I'm afraid this is completely inaudible. This is saying that what he has is actually not a real residence permit. Yes, it's called a Fiktionsbescheinigung. Yes, the reason for that is that he has a residence permit, but it is limited, and they are awaiting a decision as to whether it is extended. And so you get this thing called a Fiktionsbescheinigung. That's so that, if he gets checked by the police, he can identify himself. So that means he is legally in the country. Once you get an extension, then the Fiktionsbescheinigung expires. Oh, so I'm sorry, this is inaudible. The suspicion the charge is attempted murder in 36 cases, because that is the number of current injured, grievous bodily harm, and reckless driving. And then the reason for bringing him to custody is because he's a flight risk, and also because of the fact that for certain acts, certain crimes, you don't need an additional reason for keeping him in custody. Now, if you look at the videos of the arrest, he was overpowered. He had a lot of EKG electrodes on his upper body. Can that be that he was treated in a hospital immediately before that? That it's not uncommon for that to be the case. We have not had any information about that, about electrodes. As opposed to as regards psychological disorders. He supposedly was being treated for hallucinations and post-traumatic stress disorder. At the time as he arrived as an underage asylum seeker, there was that he was believed to have post-traumatic stress, but at my knowledge at the moment is that that is no longer an issue. What about other large events such as the Fasching or Carnivals Festival that will be happening? We are always updating our security policies. We're trying to do a lot of blocking off to traffic, and when you have all these people going through the streets, we always try our best to ensure their security. Yeah, going back to this idea of the Fiktionsbescheinigung. Why did this is supposed to bridge two different residence permits. Why was he given this exceptional leave to remain? What was the bridge between? Why was he given those original residence permits? I cannot say, I'm afraid. I'm rather confused about this issue of the electrodes. I assumed that they had been put on there by the emergency responders. They weren't brought with, were they assuming they weren't brought in with him? We will be verifying that. I can't say anything about it at the moment. And we will be able to see at what point they were put on him. And he was briefly in hospital. I can't, or whether that's the case, I can't really say. When was the Fiktionsbescheinigung, this exceptional leave to remain, granted? You said that there was a lot of correspondence in Arabic, but he's an Afghan. Now, as for the narcotics charges that you mentioned, there were charges pressed about because he was a witness to people taking drugs. He'd been identified as someone by witnesses, but we'd found nothing on his person. There were no types of narcotics in his possession. And then, as for his leave to remain, I can't say anything more than what's already been said. We're not really focused, our focus is not on his legal status. The language. What language did you say? Oh, it was in Dari. It was in Dari. I might have messed that up. Yeah, the language is Dari in the chats. You said that the order to take into custody is because of attempted murder, but what about terrorism? Because is that something that's going to come up if you can verify that it was? We don't have terrorism as an actual crime. If you, especially since we have not determined that he was a member of a terrorist group. So we don't have that as one of the charges. This is inaudible. We cannot confirm, but we did look for evidence, and that is going to be part of our investigation. I'm sorry, even the Munich police officer is inaudible at the moment. This is inaudible. Asking about whether he was under the influence of narcotics. I can say something about that second question. Of course, in this type of case, we do rapid drug tests, but I cannot tell you for privacy reasons about what the result of that. But there's nothing that would have affected whether he can be charged. I'm sorry, this is inaudible. I can't understand him. This is also inaudible? Yes, exactly. No comments on that so far. He did say about what he was thinking up until that time, but we don't have any further information. There's a question about whether you mentioned that he went to the mosque. Was it always the same mosque? I know one mosque. He might have gone to others. I know about one. And we don't know, and we haven't had any reports from that mosque. Now, it seems like the reason why he didn't make any further into the crowd is because there are 6 or 7 people under the car. Yes, you're asking, he did run over people. He said that he overtook a police car on the left. And I can't tell you whether if it was on the left or on the right, because I wasn't driving, but I know that he overtook one and then drove in between police cars. The police cars always drive a certain distance away from the crowd, so he drove past the police car and drove in between. Is it known whether he actually was the owner of the Mini Cooper, of the car? As for the car belongs to the perpetrator. He was allowed to own the car. I think it had a Munich registration, but he also took over the registration. It is car. And the second question, yes, we could question him in German. There was a question about people who were stuck under the car and had no chance of being saved. Well, we have the status of the most seriously injured and then seriously injured. This is about demonstrations, the ones that have been registered. does, does this change how you assess the risk to participants in those demonstrations? Well, like I said at the beginning, no there's there's no relation to the MSC, except that we had already started our special policing because of the MSC. And as I already said, we have been working together, and I can't with the leaders of the demonstrations, and I can't give you any more specifics. Of course, people are allowed; they have freedom to assemble, and many people have decided maybe to make it a stationary assembly, and then the police can help increase the security of that. Now, I don't know if the demonstrations that were going to be marches, if they have decided to change to stationary. This is inaudible. There's be a lot of reason to think that, but I can't confirm anything. This is inaudible. I already talked about this. We're talking about 36 injured in the ages of 2 to 60 years. 32 men and 4 males and 4 females. And they were all taking part in the Verdi March. This is inaudible. As I said, we only started looking through it, but no indication as of yet. We can't determine any type of process. I think that's what you were looking for in your, that's what you were getting at with your question. I can't say anything. This is inaudible. Something about he was religious but no connection to IS or any type of other group. And then another question about the injured. Yes, how I have determined that we looked at a few external factors, the fact that he's extremely religious, his posts, the fact that his posts on social media, his WhatsApp messages that we've already looked at, the fact that he cried out Allahu Akbar when he was arrested, and this has also been confirmed that he prayed regularly, and also what he said when he was being questioned, when we asked why he did it. And then we don't have any indication, however, that he had any type of membership in IS. Now, most seriously injured means that those injuries are life-threatening. That means that they would be in acute acute danger. You said that the motive was religious in nature. And the rest was inaudible. He did not say that he wanted to kill non-believers, and I can't say anything else about what has been happening in the questioning. Is there any indication as to why he did this yesterday? Is it a spontaneous idea that he had? And he was just driving around and saw a big crowd of people? We talked about it during questioning, but that is a point that the questioning has not yet concluded on. This is inaudible. So that is not something that has been put across to us. Did I understand that there were 3 police cars providing security? And all I can say at the moment for the injured is that there are 2 who are considered most seriously injured. As for police presence, there were multiple police present. Okay. Okay, one more question. Just a quick follow-up. Where did the information come from? From the police? From the ministry? I actually can't say, because there was a lot of information just swirling around. At some point we have to consolidate the data, and all we saw was when we get the file, all we see is that he was known to police because of shoplifting. And of course, the quick conclusion to draw is there's an easy conclusion to draw there. I'm afraid that was inaudible. I wouldn't say it that way. It came from the police. But yeah, how this mix-up happened, I can't tell you. Now, a few months ago, there was that you talked about on Karolinenplatz that the police were overworked. Well, police presence plays a role, and we do know that there are some issues in the system. But it wouldn't have affected our deployment in this case. I'm afraid that is inaudible. As far as I know, there were about 5 people who were determined. Okay, that brings us to an end of the Q&A. Now, as I said, media and representatives for radio, I would ask you to please follow either your colleagues that are standing at the exit, and we will switch everything out. Everyone's here who's here for TV can stay here, and everyone else can please, you can go out to the exit.